At 82, I've gained wisdom through decades of experience. But there's one decision I deeply regret: choosing to live in a nursing home. At the time, it seemed sensible. My family persuaded me it would provide all the care and comfort I needed. I trusted them, but after moving in, I discovered the reality was drastically different from my expectations. I know many of you are considering this option, either for yourselves or someone you love. Perhaps you believe it's the safest choice, or you've been told it will simplify life. Before you take this step, I want to share 6 crucial insights I wish someone had told me beforehand. The truth is, nursing home life isn't just about convenience. It fundamentally transforms everything, and once you enter, leaving isn't as straightforward as you might think. Stay with me until the end, because some of these revelations might surprise you. And if someone you know is contemplating a nursing home, this video could be exactly what they need to hear before making such a life-altering decision. Now let's begin. Regret 1: surrendering my independence. The most profound shock after entering a nursing home wasn't the confined space, predetermined mealtimes, or unfamiliar faces. It was the devastating realization that I had lost authority over my own existence. Before moving in, I lived by my own rhythms, deciding when to rise, when to eat, and how to spend each precious day. I could stroll whenever I pleased, prepare my own meals, or simply relax in my beloved chair with a good book. But inside the nursing home, I quickly understood that my time was no longer mine to control. Everything operated on a schedule I hadn't created. Breakfast arrived at fixed times, regardless of my hunger. Lights went out at a certain hour, whether I felt ready for sleep or not. Wanting to walk outside? You'll likely need permission and probably wait until someone can accompany you. Simple choices like selecting my meals or choosing my clothes began feeling like privileges rather than basic rights. I remember my first week there, waking up in an unfamiliar bed. I reached for the book I'd been reading at home, but looking around the room, reality hit me hard. This wasn't my home. My books, my favorite chair, all the comfort items I'd collected over years were gone. Instead, I faced sterile walls, a bed I hadn't selected, and an inescapable feeling: I was no longer in charge of my own life. The most difficult part? Realizing that once you surrender your independence, reclaiming it becomes nearly impossible. You adapt because you have no choice. You stop questioning the menu, stop asking for walks whenever you wish. You learn to fit their system, but in doing so, you begin losing your identity. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared to relinquish the small freedoms that make life uniquely yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more profoundly than you ever imagined possible. Regret 2: the pain of being forgotten. One of the harshest truths about nursing home life is discovering that the outside world continues moving forward without you. When I first arrived, my family assured me they would visit regularly. I believed them, and initially they did. My daughter came weekly, my grandchildren visited on weekends, and briefly, I felt I maintained a connection to my previous life. But as months passed, visits grew increasingly rare. My daughter began calling instead of visiting. My grandchildren became preoccupied with education and careers. Holidays proved especially difficult. Everyone promised to come, but somehow plans would change at the last moment, leaving me alone in a common area, watching other residents, gazing hopefully at the entrance, waiting for someone to remember them. It wasn't that my family stopped loving me, life simply intervened. When you're not present daily, it's easy for others to assume you're managing well, that you're adjusting, that you don't require as much attention. But the truth is, the longer you reside in a nursing home, the easier it becomes for people to forget just how much you still need their presence. I recall one evening, sitting alone, holding my phone, debating whether to call my son. I didn't want to burden him, or remind him I was here, waiting for a visit that might never materialize. So I set the phone down, and that's when the realization struck. This was my life now, watching days blur together, hoping someone would remember to include me. If you're contemplating a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the profound loneliness? Because regardless of how deeply your family loves you, once you're out of sight, it's frighteningly easy to become out of mind. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend subscribing and activating notifications so you won't miss future videos. Now, let's continue. Regret 3: losing my sense of purpose. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was merely changing my residence. I didn't realize I was also changing my reason for living. At home, I had responsibilities, routines, hobbies, and motivation to begin each day. Even small activities, watering plants, brewing my coffee, organizing my space, provided a sense of purpose. But in the nursing home, those daily rituals vanished. Meals appeared without my effort, cleaning happened without my participation, and the plants, they weren't mine to nurture anymore. Initially, I told myself relaxation would be pleasant. No more chores or responsibilities, just rest. But after several weeks, I recognized something essential was missing. Days stretched endlessly, with nothing meaningful to fill them but waiting. I observed this pattern in other residents too. People once vibrant now spent their days sitting, staring, waiting for time to pass. There was a man named George, 84, who had been a skilled carpenter his entire life. At home, he constantly fixed things, crafting projects in his garage. But here, he had no tools, no projects, nothing to create. I watched him gradually withdraw, his once capable hands now idle in his lap. "I feel worthless," he confided one day, and I understood precisely what he meant. When you no longer have something to care for or work toward, life begins losing its meaning. Your mind slows, your body follows, and soon you feel like just another anonymous resident in a place where time advances but nothing truly changes. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, what gives your life meaning? Because once you move in, finding purpose isn't simply about occupying time, it's about fighting to preserve the elements that make you feel alive. Regret 4. Health declining faster than anticipated. Before entering the nursing home, I was managing well for my age. While not running marathons, I could care for myself, take walks, and cook my own meals. I maintained small routines that kept me active. Grocery shopping, morning stretches, even just moving around my house to keep my legs strong. But once I moved in, everything changed dramatically. Initially, it seemed I was simply taking it easy. Meals arrived without effort, and I no longer needed to stand in the kitchen cooking. If I needed anything, I could press a button for assistance. What I didn't anticipate was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. My movement decreased, and soon my legs felt stiffer. I sat more than before, and gradually, rising from a chair became challenging. The muscles I'd maintained for years deteriorated faster than I ever expected. This pattern affected others too. People who walked in independently soon relied on wheelchairs. Those once self-sufficient now needed help with tasks they previously managed effortlessly. The more assistance we received, the more dependent we became. I remember my neighbor Alice, an 81-year-old woman who was energetic upon arrival. She took daily walks throughout the facility, insisting age wouldn't slow her down. But within months, I noticed her walking less frequently. Soon she used a walker, then a wheelchair. One day she confessed, "I don't understand how it happened, but I feel like I've aged a decade in just months." That's exactly how it felt. When you stop using your body, you begin losing capabilities. In a nursing home, where everything is designed for convenience, it's easy to forget that movement isn't just about ease, it's about survival. Had I known how quickly my strength would diminish, I would have fought harder to remain active, to keep moving, to challenge myself, even when unmotivated. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, will you maintain the determination to keep your body strong when everything is designed to make life effortless? Because once you slow down, regaining momentum isn't as simple as you might believe. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend subscribing and activating notifications so you won't miss future videos. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's continue. Regret 5. The erosion of privacy and dignity. One aspect I hadn't fully considered before entering a nursing home was how much privacy I would sacrifice. At home, I had personal space where I could close my door, enjoy silence when desired, and live on my own terms. But in a nursing home, privacy becomes a luxury rarely guaranteed. From the moment I arrived, I felt constantly observed, staff entering without warning, scheduled room inspections, and communal areas where solitude is scarce. Even basic activities, like dressing or using the bathroom, often required assistance. I understand staff are performing their duties, but accepting help for activities you've managed independently your entire life creates profound discomfort. I recall my first week struggling with the realization that I needed permission for actions I'd always taken for granted. Want to shower? You might wait until someone can assist. Need the restroom? Pressing the call button sometimes means uncomfortable delays. Even meal choices became restricted. If you dislike the day's menu offerings, you simply must manage. Then came the challenge of roommates. Not everyone receives a private room, and sharing space with someone you didn't choose can prove immensely frustrating. I was fortunate to have a considerate roommate, but others shared stories of less pleasant experiences. Some had roommates who were noisy, unclean, or suffered cognitive difficulties that made sleep impossible. No matter how you try personalizing your space, it never truly becomes yours. Dignity erodes subtly, and I didn't realize how much I would surrender until I was already there. When people knock but enter before receiving permission, when you're addressed as a patient rather than a person, when your daily routine follows a schedule you didn't create, it fundamentally changes you. You begin feeling less like yourself, and more like another name on a roster. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared to relinquish the privacy and control you've maintained throughout your life? Because once gone, these aspects prove remarkably difficult to reclaim. Regret 6. Discovering departure is harder than anticipated. When I initially moved into the nursing home, I convinced myself it was temporary. I thought I would try it, see how things progressed, and if dissatisfied, I could always leave. What I didn't anticipate was how challenging departure would become once I was settled. Initially, it seemed straightforward. If unhappy, I'd simply return home. But home had changed. My house stood empty, and maintaining it remotely became problematic. My children had begun making changes, selling items they believed unnecessary, even considering renting the property. When I mentioned returning, they hesitated. Are you certain you can manage independently? Wouldn't remaining be safer? We only want what's best for you. Then came the issue of physical decline. After months in an environment where I didn't cook, clean, or even walk significant distances, my strength had diminished. The independence I once possessed began slipping away, making the prospect of returning home more daunting than I ever imagined. My confidence in living independently wavered, and that fear kept me trapped. I met others with identical experiences. They thought they'd briefly try nursing home life, only to discover leaving wasn't as simple as anticipated. The longer you remain, the harder readjusting to outside life becomes. Some completely lost the option. When their homes were sold or savings depleted by care costs, there was no going back. That's what nobody reveals. Moving in feels like a reversible decision, but for most it isn't. The nursing home gradually becomes your entire world, and before you realize it, your previous life starts feeling like a distant memory. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the possibility that once you enter, leaving might not be as straightforward as you believe? Because once settled, the barriers to departure, whether financial, physical, or emotional, can prove far more formidable than expected. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend subscribing and activating notifications so you won't miss future videos. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire you. Final thoughts. Looking back, I don't regret aging, but I deeply regret believing a nursing home was my only option. I entered expecting comfort, safety, and improved quality of life. Instead, I discovered an environment that gradually stripped away my independence, privacy, purpose, and even my sense of identity. Does this mean all nursing homes are inadequate? Not necessarily. Some individuals genuinely require their level of care. But before making this decision, carefully consider what you're sacrificing. Because once you move in, life irrevocably changes. If I could start over, I would have fought harder to remain in my home, explored additional support options without surrendering my freedom, and ensured I truly needed institutional care before making such a permanent change. If you face this decision, I hope you'll ask yourself, is this genuinely what's best for me, or merely what seems easiest right now? Because your current life, your routines, independence, and choices deserves preservation for as long as possible. Thank you for joining us today. I'd love hearing from you. Please comment below sharing one insight you gained and how you plan to apply it. Your thoughts matter tremendously, so please share them. Reading your comments provides us with profound motivation and encouragement. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support enables us to continue creating valuable content that informs and inspires. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to connecting with you in our next video.